Well, good everybody. We're in Cowes at the moment, just up from High Street, and just literally walked in the door, dumped everything, come in the kitchen, and got the internet code, and here we are. And I think the internet looks strong enough, although the intro then started to stagger a bit. But anyway, we're here and on time. So, and I haven't had. We've been following the tracker a little bit. See everyone just blasting along. I didn't see the weather because we don't get good weather on the mobile, but I just had a quick peek then for a few minutes, and it looks very interesting for Pen Duick coming in here, roaring towards the finish. And it looks like that might continue all the way in. So we'll get into a final analysis of the weather and try and come up with a reasonable ETA today on this one, and then we'll be here again tomorrow. So that'll be more relevant because by then they'll be a matter of hours away. So that's kind of cool. I haven't been following the tweets, so I can't really fill you in on that. James, we're just literally getting set up here. So sometime in the next few hours, we'll catch up with posting all the other bits and pieces and get everything rolling. But in the meantime, we will go straight to the tracker. I've got Windy on as well. In fact, Windy's just all changed. But anyway, that's fine. So if you're on tracker there and I'm on the tracker here, I'll just push that up a little bit. And here we go. So we've got just the entrance to the English Channel there. Pen Duick's getting really close. They're pretty much following the originally planned rum line, coming up through the Azores and then working their way around to the UK. Explorer's right down the back here, but big split in the fleet. But we all know what's going on with everyone. And pretty much now everyone's moving consistently towards the finish. We'll do a 2-day weather catch up in a minute. But for now, we'll start off down the back end of the fleet here and just pick this up and walk through everyone's current status. Getting a bit soft down here for Explorer. So they're only doing 5.3 knots and 110 mile day. But you can see there it's softening off before this transition area with no wind at all. So we'll see what happens with that in a minute. And they've got, once again though, they've got pretty much an easterly, but they're still not even able to make north. So that's like 90 degrees. Maybe it hasn't hooked around as much as what we would have thought. That's the 12 o'clock position. So that's the reality. Let's hope that changes when they get a bit higher up and they can, get their course hooked around a bit and make it towards the UK. Sterner, 6.9 knots, 170 mile day. They'd be happy with that. Can't complain. White Shadow, 6.9 knots, 165 mile day. So Sterner's catching up. But you can also see if this graphic is correct with the windy weather, there's a less wind there than there has been here. They've got a bit more breeze. So that explains the situation there. So these guys, deadly triple trio here, they're pretty much hanging in together. Galliana, 8 knots, 188 mile day. They've sped up a little bit. I think they were doing a little less than that in the previous one. And Triana, 8.3, just a little bit faster than Galliana. They've been, having to go at each other. One get in the front and the other one catch up, and so on. So it goes. But they managed 181 nautical mile day against 188 for Galliana. So Avrika, 8.7 knots and 198 nautical mile day. Probably because she's out a little bit further to the west, and that's where the breeze has been. It's sort of this area of strong winds holding relative position, hasn't moved a lot to the east or the west. And Triana's running down. Evrika's running a little bit closer to the stronger winds. So that would help. Outlaw doing okay, 8.6 knots and a 200 nautical mile day. That's quite a turnaround for them. They be happy to try and keep up there. And Maiden finally on the go, 10.3 knots. That might be the fastest for the fleet today, and a 239 mile day. Trying obviously very hard to separate from Triana, because that's the whole, in fact, the whole deal about outright or overall. Our team, myself included, we're having a discussion at the moment. Should we call the main game winner? And this is all 4 legs. Who's winning IRC on all 4 legs? Do we call them the overall leader, or do we call them the outright leader? I see some reports on various events where, like Sydney, Hobart, and so on, where the definition or the language is different, and we're trying to discuss. We have to decide today: is the OGR going to call it the outright leader, or is it going to be the overall leader? But we've got to be consistent. So let me know in your comments what you think. Should it be outright or overall? Anyway, that's the big battle right now, and we'll have a look at that in a minute as well. Bearing in mind that. And this is playing very graphically into Pen Duick's hands. Yesterday we were looking, and they were, holding second place with Maiden behind them. So it could be, and certainly, we'll discuss it in a minute. But Pen Duick looks like they're going to blast all the way to the finish. So what's Triana going to do? Who knows? Okay, so I didn't get under that. Yeah, so 10.3 and 239 mile day, very impressive. Neptune 9.2 and 226 mile day. You can see they've got plenty of breeze. Same with Helsinki, 10.6 and 142. So maybe they got the game. 142. Yep, they're the furthest sailed so far. And the Esprit de Keep still looking good. 9.8, 163 mile day. They didn't like that. They had that slow period yesterday where they went nowhere, very slow. So that hurt them quite a lot. It's allowed Esprit of Helsinki to catch up a bit. And but I think they should still hold second place. But let's wait and see. Now Pen Duick holding the breeze, but on a funny course. They must have a reason for that. They're obviously tacking down wind or something. They've got plenty of breeze from behind, doing 8.7, 223 mile day. Maybe it's not as strong as we think. Just to pick that up so you can see it a bit better. Maybe she's playing the breezes to keep the apparent up or whatever, but we'll have a look at them in a minute on windy just to define it. But first we'll go through the couple of little issues here. Distance to the finish is 281 miles. Now, there's 223 mile day today. If they can keep those speeds, they might be doing 240 mile day, which means that this time tomorrow, that'd only be 40 miles from the finish. Okay, if they're doing 10 knots, this is we're 1 o'clock. They could get in late tomorrow. Okay, if this holds, and it may well do something like that. So we'll have a good analysis of that when they think they might arrive. But on the by what's showing here, they could arrive very late tomorrow night. So we'll be gearing up for that as well and see what happens. Okay, so we'll just shrink this back and look at the two-day weather for the fleet first, and then we'll come back and focus on Pen Duick before it gets too carried away. Otherwise, no one will listen. If we do Pen Duick first, oops, just shut up again. If we do Pen Duick first, everyone will go home and they won't worry about what's happening to the rest of the fleet. Sort of. Okay, so we've got that. We've got this. We now want the weather. We've got it there. So we'll just, I'm going to push this down so we can see the channel there. Okay, that's about as good as we've got. So there's the channel leading in, but we'll come back and focus on them in a minute. So overall, that big wind is moving away and it's getting a bit quieter. So that's by midnight tonight. And then in 24 hours, you can see by the look of this up here that it's softening off. So that might slow down Pen Duick a little bit. The Esprit de Keep is going to come on into this softer stuff as well. They're not going to get as much breeze as Esprit of Helsinki. Neptune's got plenty of wind all the way through. Maiden, plenty of breeze all the way through. In fact, just the right amount of breeze probably to give them all the sail area they want with various kites and things. So that should make them sail better to their rating as well. So they got plenty of breeze. Outlaw should be okay. 24 hours. Let's just see. In 24 hours, a couple hundred miles. Yeah, they're still going to be in here. So Outlaw is okay. Evrika, all the rest of them are okay. Although there's going to be, once again, you can see this band of breeze is not going to move. So Evrika is going to have more wind than Galliana with Secure. They're going to come up here. You might see the others just start to edge ahead a little bit. White Shadow still in the light stuff, so they're not going to go anywhere in a hurry. And the same with Sterner. If they follow that course, it's going to get softer and softer, and they'll slow down. And Explorer, they're driving into nothing unless they come up a bit. So there's not going to be much action there as well. So there goes the first 24 hours. I'll bring Pen Duick back in the picture there. Then I've got to get rid of that. And I've got to hit that. and then we'll just keep pushing through for the next 24 hours. You can see pretty much similar stuff. This breeze is still blowing towards the coast, so that's when this is when they're likely to be. Yep, there's plenty of breeze there for Pen Duick to keep going. Not so sure about the middle fleet. This is now 2 days out. So 2 days out, can they get 380 miles in front? Let's just say it's 380. Oh boy, these three are going to just maybe hang in there and catch onto this breeze and keep going. Or they might get snaffled up in this really light stuff, depending on what the forecast does, or the reality is against the forecast. So these three could be okay. The others are all okay. They've got breeze following through. And Sterner, a bit risky. They might be into nothing still. And Explorer, yeah, probably breeze, but going the wrong way maybe. All right, that's a bit of an indication of the whole thing. Now we'll do a really close analysis of Pen Duick, who's going to be in a couple of days ahead of everyone else. So this is the area of most interest now. And what I might do is I'm going to swap this over to, well, let's just first of all confirm they're currently 280 miles from the finish. Okay, and this is the breeze that they've got right now. Okay, plenty of breeze. Okay, so they're going to maintain. They're only doing 8.7. I would have thought this is probably because they might have been going a bit slower previously, but let's just say they're going to do 9 knots. And let's just follow this through and see what it looks like. So plenty of breeze. At that point there, they're potentially starting to slow down a little bit, no matter what they've got up. Only a little bit. This is by midnight tonight. It's getting a bit softer. And there, that's very soft. We'll look at this in windy. That's going to slow them down. They wouldn't be doing 10s. They'd be doing 7s and 8s maybe. And this is 7:30 in the morning. There's 10 and 12. So there's 1 o'clock now. So yeah, this is about where we are in the scheme of things. Georgie's just ringing. I hope you got this. I hope you're still copying this. Yep, no one's complaining. All right. I thought Georgie might have been ringing and say it's not working. So I'll come back to this. Okay, so it's probably looking like about let's say at best 200 miles. I think it's going to be a 200-mile day. And 200 miles is around about here. I pull this back. There's 200-mile day. That's 210. That's probably about right. And then they've got about 70 miles to the finish. Okay. So at that, so 70 miles to the finish by midday, by this time tomorrow. And there's breeze there. That's a good breeze. They should be doing 8s and 9s and maybe even more. And just push this through, and it looks like the breeze is increasing. So if we go through till midnight, the breeze, it's a bit up and down. Okay, yeah, so it looks like it's increasing. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over to windy and have a good look, because that'll pick us up on the reality of the situation. Now, when I turned this on today, you should all be looking at windy now. Yeah, confirm. Windy have just popped up with a whole new format, and I haven't driven this at all yet. But I can see the way it's working. It's got a lot more graphic, a lot more user-friendly and so on, but this is absolutely just a few minutes ago, the first time I've seen this new format. So what we're on now is this one here. I'm assuming you can see that. It's just on the normal wind. We all know what it is. Here's the date and time. So this is today's weather and wind. We'll get into gusts in a minute. And this is around about where Pen Duick is at the moment. It's southwesterly in the 20s. Okay, and it's gusting. If I hit this box here, which says the gusts, it's gusting to 25, 27, and that's why they're doing the 9s, 9.8s, and so on. Okay, that's what they've got there now. That's right at the moment. Now, if we just come up to 6 o'clock tonight, another 5, we'll say 7 o'clock. Not much has changed. Wind gusts are very similar all the way through. If we look at wind, wind is probably softening off just a little bit. So you could say they'll maintain their, as we discussed, they've maintained their speeds of around 8, 9 knots, still 17 knots southwesterly, 20s and so on. So, yep, they're going to do a couple 100 miles, 220 miles or something. All the way through. Then you can see it's dropping off a bit, but only down to 15 knots. Now, 15 knots from behind, if the boat's doing say 8 knots in 15 knots of breeze, there's only 8 knot apparent over the deck. So this is where they might slow down a bit just tomorrow night-ish. That's tomorrow morning. Still holding 15 knots. 15 knots pretty much all the way through there until late tomorrow night. So then it's cutting back to 10, 14 knots. Yeah, it's very, very iffy here. I'm starting to suggest, sorry, wrong way. Starting to think it's going to be an early morning in the dark arrival. So there's 15, 13 knots there all the way through. This is 5 o'clock in the morning tomorrow on Friday morning. I'm going to push this right up now and get into the nitty-gritty of behind cows. Yep, the breeze is holding through all the way right through past the needles, 12 knots into the solent there. We want to go up a bit more. Okay, so we've got 10 knots in the solent. That's pretty normal, but it's still holding. So all the way through there. So at this stage, we will upgrade this obviously tomorrow morning. At this stage, I would think that Pen Duick might be very early hours of tomorrow morning. So it's 10, 12, or I'd say early hours of tomorrow morning, anywhere between about 1 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the morning. How exciting is that? Okay. So we better start planning for that. Anyway, that's enough now. It is an arbitrary thing, but that's what it's certainly looking like at the moment. Early hours or really late tomorrow night or early hours of Friday morning. So that's pretty cool. Very interesting. All right, let's have a look at the leaderboard and see what that's suggesting. So line honours, I think you all know how that stacks up. We've been looking at the tracker, Pen Duick, the Spirit of Keep, Spirit of Helsinki, Neptune, Maiden. So it goes. And now for line honours leg 4, Pen Duick is absolutely holding IRC for leg 4. Pen Duick is holding IRC, and she's so close to the finish, and with everything else that's going on, and it's got 2 days in the end, so it's looking very much like Pen Duick, touch wood, if nothing goes wrong, it's never over to the fat lady sings, etc., etc. Looking very much like she's going to get line honours and IRC, which is incredible. So that's very interesting to see here. L'Esprit de Keep is holding on to second place pretty comfortably at the moment. If they can keep that going, there's a Neptune is a day behind. It's a full day behind. So L'Esprit de Keep still looking good for second IRC, and then Neptune and Spirit of Helsinki. Neptune's got a day in it, and she's got pretty good breeze all the way in, so that's starting to look a bit settled as well. And Maiden's right down there, so I think Maiden's out of the hunt for this leg for sure. But every time I say that, things can happen. You just never know. Then Triana, Outlaw, Galliana was secure. All right, so let's go and look again at. I need to reboot this at the overall or outright scenario for IRC combined all 4 legs, bearing in mind this is provisional and there may be mistakes in this, so don't hold your breath too much on it. It's as accurate as we can get it at the moment, but nothing will be confirmed until sometime after the boats are all in. So Triana still holding 1 day and 10 hours against Pen Duick. 10, 11, 1 hour and 1 day and 20 hours. No, it's the other way around. So 81. So that's a full day. You've got 9 hours and 10 hours. So 1 full day and about 10 hours or something from Pen Duick. Pen Duick has caught up quite a lot in the last few days. That's getting close now. But because she's only a day and a half from the finish, assuming Triana keeps sailing, it's going to be hard for them to pick that out. But we didn't look at the weather going forward in relation to the number of days that Triana is going to take to get to the finish. She has to maintain a VMG of about 5 knots, 4.9 knots to hold that. And she's going to be out sailing for another, how far to the finish? Triana's got 15, so 7, 8, 9, 10 days. So during that 10 days, if at some time Triana parks and sits in a hole for a day and goes nowhere, then what happens is Pen Duick starts to climb up the leaderboard. And so Pen Duick is clearly, depending on the weather, and we'll look at that in a minute, is clearly looking a serious threat to Triana for IRC. That's outright or overall for the whole race, which is incredible. So then Maiden, a similar scenario, they're sitting about a day behind, about a day or less than a day, 81, 82, less than a day behind Pen Duick. So same thing again. Maiden sailing really fast at the moment, but let's wait and see what happens. If Triana slows down, you see all these reshuffles. So we won't be saying anything about who's going to be the overall outright leader under IRC for the whole race. It's too hard to call at the moment because some of the contenders are so far away, at least 10 days, about 8, 9, 10 days or something, depending on the weather. Then it's Spirit Helsinki, Galliana with Secure, and so on. So let's just go back to the tracker. I'll get rid of that. I'm going to go back to reboot this again. And go back to leg 4 and do it on the tracker because we only want indicative weather to get to the finish line for Triana. And this will be accurate enough to tell us what's going to happen over the next 10 days. We get a 10-day forecast here, which is a bit iffy, but it's absolutely better than nothing. So I think this is a large enough scale. I'll stick over here alongside Rolly Tasker Sales. Just to see what's going to happen with the weather over the next week or so. Okay, so you just got to imagine this. I'm not going to give you the positions of every boat and what's going to go on, but you can see there is clearly breeze here. Okay, and here's Triana down with Evrika and Galliana. Pen Duick going to roll through at max speed all the way to the finish. So they're settled, and that's the threat now for Triana if she finds a hole and stops. So we've got to pace this off with the distance they sail. So here we go from the 10th. There's into the 11th. There's the first. There's the first bit that could be a problem. Let's look at that. So this is. Hang on, I'll just bring it up to the 12th. So we got the. I'm still in windy. Jeepers. That was lucky I got that call. Okay, stand by. I've got to get you into the windy one, which is here. Thanks for that. Okay, I hit that again. Okay, that was lucky. Ooh, thanks, Anne. Rightio. Oh, someone did. Our Rob as well, but someone just commented. Okay, so let me get back to windy. You should have windy now. What's going on there? Oh, no. Jeez. Okay, gotcha. No, you don't want windy. Sorry. Oh, boy. It's been a long drive and all the rest of it. So we want to actually be on the tracker. So I want that one. Okay, so we're now on the tracker on the thingo. We only see, someone says the screen's frozen. So can you see that, Jane? Anyway, Rob will give us a comment. Yep, we got that. This is an important analysis. So we're on the right screen. I'm going over there. Rightio. Now we're currently looking at weather. Give it one more click and we're 2 days away. Well, actually, I'm going to hold it there. We're just under 2 days away. So I'm going to blow that up so everyone can see it. So in 2 days' time, Triana's probably going to average about, she's currently done 180. I reckon she'll do 170 miles a day. So it's 340 miles. And 340 miles is about, that's way ahead. 340. Even if it's 400, you can see what's happening here. Straight away, it places her right in the middle of these 3 different systems. There's a system over here. There's one coming down there. There's something underneath blowing this way. And there's nothing in the middle. This is a real danger zone for Triana because depending on where she is, if she's up here, she's got breeze. If she's down there, she's not. But this system That's roughly where she is, where she's going to be in 2 days. And if she parks for a day or loses ground, she's going to slip down the scale very quickly. I'm going backwards now, so you can see the light wind exists. In fact, it's gonna go over them. So this is really a danger zone for Triana. If she gets hooked up in that, it's a problem. Okay. Fortunately, it's not there for very long, but it's still a threat. Then the breeze comes back, and then look what happens. It looks like it could go on the nose. So now she's got headwinds, right? So this is day 2.5 days out. She's going to have headwinds for sure, and going to have to start tacking and pick where she's going to go. All right. So this is 2.5 days out. She's going to be around here somewhere with headwinds. That's not good for Triana. Then going through, this is the end of the day. Headwinds still exist. All right. So this is looking like wow factor. It's going to be somewhere around here. So this is, I'll pull it through to the 14. It's starting to get a bit iffy, very hard to predict exactly where. Hang on a sec. Okay, this is 3 days out now. All right, so let's say Triana, there's Triana. Boom. She wouldn't have managed 600 miles. It'll be under 500. So it'll be, she's going to be around about here somewhere, but still clearly in the headwinds and solid headwinds, so not going fast towards the finish, right? So now she's going to be about where Neptune is, okay? And then what's going to happen? Whoa, look at that, jeepers. Okay, the headwinds are starting to change, but there's no wind, and this is right where Triana's going to be. Every time I'm moving the weather, I'm seeing challenges for Triana if this forecast is correct. And that's a complete game changer, because you're not going to sit and park and go nowhere, like 0 knots for a day. But if you get 2 or 3 days where you're only doing 130 instead of 180, that's 150 miles there, which nearly makes up a day, right? And this is a big high here. This is Azor's high that's moving up, and it's right in the way of Triana. They're on the wrong side of it, so they're going to get headwinds or they're going to get no wind, and it's really a problem. So I'm very clear in suggesting that Triana has real threats associated with trying to maintain her average speed, which gives the IRC corrected time, and it's potentially securing the situation with Pen Duick. And I don't think we haven't looked at Maiden totally, but boy, there's some real eye openers there. I hope that makes sense to everyone. I don't want to predict anything further. It gets a bit hard to follow, but I'm quite clear in the commentary from my point of view going forward that Triana is going to have challenges with the weather, which threatens her current position as overall or outright leader in the race. Where that stands with Maiden, well, let's have a look at Maiden. We're waffling on. You can all go home and have a cup of coffee if you want, but I'll come back and do something similar to Maiden to see what's going on there. Maiden's challenge is that it's simply trying to catch up to Pen Duick. It's different than Triana. Triana's the leader at the moment in the rankings, right? So she's got to Triana has to try and hold that so she doesn't slip down behind Pen Duick. Maiden's different. Right, this analysis, Maiden's got to try and catch up and pass Pen Duick in performance under IRC. Now that's really hard because Pen Duick's been sailing pretty well into the finish, and so the first thing Maiden has to do is not only keep up with what she's done so far, but not actually. She's got to do that and try and go faster, which is really hard. Right, so it is a complete different analysis than what we did with Triana. So there's Maiden now. There's the finish. Maiden's currently doing a bit of 10 knots and doing 240-mile days. Right now, that's pretty impressive. And she's gonna, even if she kept up doing that, I don't think she would be able to catch Pen Duick. But let's have a look anyway. So we'll push it through day 1. We did this a minute ago, I know, but there goes day 1. And in day 1, let's assume she's managed, I don't think she'll do 240, but she might do 220 or something. Let's just go to 220. Yeah, she's going to be around about where Helsinki is. But she won't have gained in this weather. She won't have increased her relative IRC performance to gain on Pen Duick. She'd just be holding her own at best. Okay, that's my suggestion there on day one. On day two, if we look at that, day two, there goes it, all over. It's all over. There's no chance, in my opinion, right? Anything can happen, of course, but this is really, there's 340, there's 200. You can see here, it's already softening. They're still going to be moving well, but again, the issue is they've got to do better than well to catch up to and pass Pen Duick. Even though Pen Duick will be sitting on the marina, this is just catching up with your IRC performance. So that's really hard. No fault of the girls. It's just what you get with the weather, same as Triana. That's going to be hard act to follow as well. So, and there, yeah, you look at that. Bingo. There's not much wind here at all. In fact, let's just have a look on windy. I'm going to do this correctly. But basically now, if this is now the 13th, so it's 10th, 11, 12, 13, I'll push it forward. 13 at 5 o'clock and 5:30 in the morning. I'll go through the next one. 7:30. This is going to hold. Yeah, 7:30 to 7:30 on the 13th. And 7:30 on the 13th, they're going to be 246. They're going to be 600 miles. Yeah, they're going to be just off Somalo here, somewhere around there. Okay. So now if I press all the right buttons, we're going to go back to windy. Here's windy. I press that and you're on windy. Rightio. Now I go to windy so I can see what I'm talking about. And we'll decrease this back. All I'm going to do is show you this big hole that Maiden's going to sail into, which will be the end of her chance to increase her average performance to try and catch up and pass Pen Duick. So, okay, there's the 12th. Now there's going to be a big light patch of breeze turn up over here in the next day when I bring this forward. So we're currently on wind. So there goes Friday. You can see it lightening up already, 9 knots. Okay, and we said 5 o'clock on the 13th. Maiden is going to be sitting here, drifting towards the finish. There's no way, in my opinion, that it's going to be, I shouldn't say no way, but it's going to be very challenging, extremely difficult, if not impossible, for Maiden to try and get ahead of Pen Duick's IRC performance. However, you might be watching Triana fall back behind Pen Duick and also behind Maiden. You just don't know. Anyway, there's enough of that. I hate doing those sorts of things, but I know a lot of people are interested. We're getting lots of comments and, oh, what's doing this? Da, da, da. But that's looking incredibly interesting for the finish of the OGR. We're getting ready for a press release already, but I'm quite comfortable in saying that Pen Duick is in a real run here for overall outright IRC for the whole race, which is crazy. It's amazing. Goosebump material. So that will be very interesting. Anyway, I know I lost a lot of people then trying to keep up with that, but very interesting. This is the first time I've analysed the whole thing to the end. So anyway, say good day to a few people. Judy, Simon, Judy, Brian. Everyone still on windy. Yeah, I changed over. I hope you saw that. Overall leader sounds best to me. Overall leader. Okay. Your screen is frozen. Yeah, we've sorted that. Thanks. Tara, hi from West Southampton. Missed 20 minutes. Damn it. We're going to be a windy week in the boat. So yeah, you should have seen what happened here just before we got here. It's the solstice, the equinox and all that sort of stuff. And Main Street Cows flooded. The tide went up 660 centimetres or something because of the time of the year, and then the wind, huge amount of wind the night before, and it just flooded the whole of Main Street and Cows, which is amazing. It's all underwater. Katie, I bet you followed it, Katie, my little explanation then, and it is absolutely going to be a nail biter. I mean, picture this. Pen Duick comes in, takes out line honours for leg 4, takes out IRC for leg 4, and she's going to be sitting on the dock there watching Triana's performance over the next few days and potentially seeing Triana slowly notch back. So even though Pen Duick's on the dock, she's still racing for IRC, and you're going to see the whole thing start to evolve, and then all of a sudden something will get to the point where we'll start to see who is actually going to be the winner under IRC for overall. It's going to be crazy. That's quite a finish. So bit of fun. How are we going to write that press release, Katie? It's going to be interesting. Try to explain it to people. Anyway, I'm running out of battery now. I just realised I didn't plug into the wall because I need a new plug. Okay, I'm gonna. If you lose me in a minute, I'm gonna lose it. Replay works. Okay. The OGR's been fab. What I'm going to do when it's over? Oh, watch the mini globe race. We're going around the world in 19 footers. Ooh, starts the Transat from Lagos in December. We're racing from Lagos to Lanzarote in the Canaries and then to Antigua. That's a feeder for the mini globe race. It'll all be on again, but we won't be doing this every day for the mini globe race because that race is going to take about 13 months. And we've got a life as well to do. Anyway, I think I might have skipped some of the comments there, but anyway, it's all happening. Yeah, it's a lot of interesting stuff. Okay, enough of that. We'll be back tomorrow. We might even do a couple tomorrow. We might do a 10 o'clock one and a later one or something because the ETA of Pen Duick is going to be holding everyone's imagination, I think. So thanks for that, and we'll see you tomorrow. See you later.